Letters from Christopher Watts. The 24th of March 2019. Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I'm glad you got to talk to my mum. I was worried you didn't receive my letter when I received your last letter. Thank you for your prayers. I've been in confinement since March 5th when the last media storm happened, so it has been a little rough, but I know God is here with me and I'm never alone. Maybe there is someone He doesn't want me to run into, that's here right now. I love your quote. Our fight with Satan is only as big as the victory will be. That's so true. I feel the enemy attacking me all day long in here, it's relentless. The enemy got to me once when he took my family, but I think he knows God is working to bring a lot of souls to the kingdom through this, so he keeps on the offensive. If we can keep others from the darkness that can creep into their lives, I'm all for it. It would be awesome to hear your testimony one day. I would never think one testimony is more powerful than another. The same celebration is had in heaven when any of us receive Jesus Christ into our hearts. Human perception sees that some overcome more heartache and suffering than others, but God sees sin as sin. No sin is greater than the other, and He doesn't let any suffering that is too big for us to handle come upon us. Unfortunately, there are judges out there that believe it's their sole purpose to remind you what you've done. This reminds me of John, chapter 8, when the scribes and Pharisees throw a woman caught in adultery in front of Jesus and asking Him to judge her. He asked the multitude, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." One by one they all left the temple until it was just the woman and Jesus alone. Once her accusers had left, Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and sin no more." If everyone would just think about their own sins, they wouldn't be so quick to cast the first stone. The world is full of self-righteousness and self-pride, but what we need is self-sacrifice and humility. Those are the qualities of Jesus. It's amazing to know that God put me on the heart of someone that was halfway across the country at that time. He has a plan for all of us, although it may take a while to realize His plan for us. When it becomes clear, it is crystal clear. Your example of the three-pronged attack by Satan is spot on. Worldly things, lust of the eyes and pride of life, we see on TV and social media what we should look like, what we should have and what we need to do to get what we want. Nothing could be further from the truth. Our minds are being polluted all day long. If only we would all see the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom that the Bible teaches, I believe the world would be a lot different. I believe my mum sent you a visiting form, so maybe I will see you sooner than I think. I hope this letter finds you in good spirits. Prayers to you and your family. God bless, Chris. I will not leave you comfortless, I will come to you. John 14 verse 18. P.S. You don't have to put Lee County on the address. I think this is Dodge County, but who knows, I'm still learning the geography of this state, Also, the institution doesn't allow paper to be sent in, although they left 2 pieces of paper and retained the other 2, weird. P.P.S. Yes, this book could be a real force against the enemy and the media. The 4th of April 2019. Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you are doing well. Yes, I am still on protective confinement and I'm supposed to hear back from the security director tomorrow to see how much longer. I've never had any trouble with anyone here, but the institution is just being cautious. The security director doesn't want anyone to see all the media coverage and then come after me. I'm in my cell over 23 hours a day, but I know God is here with me. He has given me a lot of extra time alone with Him over the past month. Also, He has opened my eyes to a few things I was holding onto in my heart that I didn't acknowledge to myself. I've never had a psychological exam. If I were to have seen a doctor during my case, then anything I said could have been subpoenaed by the court or DA. And the Asperger's symptoms do make a lot of sense, and I can match up a bunch of instances in my life that correspond with it too. It would have been much easier to diagnose me with it when I was 11 years old instead of 33 years old. Next time I talk to the psychological department, I will ask what it takes to get an evaluation. The media is horrible with what they put out there sometimes. Is my diet really that exciting? The sale of the house was pushed back to July before the investigators came to see me. I have a civil case against me, wrongful death lawsuit, prayer in relief, and in the matter of the probate court, the attorneys thought the house could be sold at a profit and the money would go to the wrongful death suit and help Shanann's family. After evaluating with the realtor, she told Shanann's parents that the house wouldn't sell for more than what was owed. So, then Chase Bank pushed the auction to July 17th. It had nothing to do with the investigators, just another example of the truth versus media truths. I received notification that you are on my visitor list now. I would recommend waiting until I'm off confinement. I have a friend in Green Bay that came to visit and they had to shut down the whole facility to move me to another unit. Then I was handcuffed to the table and talked to my friend through a video monitor. Even though I was heavily restrained, I thank God every day for that visit. She stayed for 3 hours and talked to me and she is truly an angel. From what I am told, the only items you can bring into the visiting room are quarters, $20 worth, for the vending machines. I will be allowed to get a radio and TV soon, but CDs I believe are contraband because they can be made into a weapon. At some point, the institution will offer 7-inch tablets that we can use for downloading music and email. Maybe there will be some praise, worship items available to download. I like your question, what does it mean to die out to Christ daily? To me, that means to look at his character and model yourself as he was when he walked the earth. Jesus is the stone which the builders rejected, but that same stone has become the chief cornerstone. Whosoever shall fall upon that stone shall be broken, but on whosoever it shall fall, it will grind him to powder. Luke 20 verses 17 to 18 paraphrased. To die for Christ daily is to fall upon this stone daily. What breaks when you fall is your allegiance to self, lust and pride. I look at things I do daily and always ask, should I think about that? Or should I be reading something like this? We are not all perfect, but we can all make a diligent effort to be better every day. I like that dream you had. I know a lot of people, especially inmates, will be able to relate to my testimony and be able to see the trust, the hope, the peace, and the love in Christ. I hope people on the outside can be able to relate and be able to look at their own lives, and receive the Lord into their hearts. I believe if roles were reversed and if I read a book about this happening to someone, I would come to the Lord. It would have hit home and show me what was important in life. The rapture? Well, that is an interesting topic. Revelation was definitely hard to grasp at first, but I understand a little more each time. We may have to discuss that one in person, because I'm running a little low on paper, haha. I would love to hear your thoughts on it as well. I'm definitely praying for your father every day. I hope his wife doesn't put him somewhere and you can't see him. My grandmother, she's 93, has dementia, and I know some days it's hard for my dad to go see her when she doesn't recognize him. My dad put me on speakerphone the other day so she could hear my voice and she started smiling. That made my day. I hope you're doing well and you are resting in the Lord's peace every day. Look forward to hearing from you soon. God bless, Chris. For with you is the fountain of life, in your light shall we see light. Psalm 36 verse 9, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. James 4 verse 10. April 23, 2019, Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you are doing well. It has been awesome talking with you on the phone, but I know the 15-minute timeframe is a pain. Sometimes I can get right back on the phone, but right now there are other inmates that like to be on the phone as much as I do, so I respect their time as well. How's your dad doing? I hope you're able to see him. I've been praying on that every day. Yes, that petition really blew my mind that people really want to make me suffer like that. Even if they did ever take my pictures, they can't take my memories. An inmate from another institution wrote me about that subject and said, if they take your pictures, they would need to take the pictures from the other 500 to 600 people that have their family pictures up on their cell convicted of the same act. Do I feel like I should be incarcerated? For the act I committed, I most definitely think so. Do I imagine myself ever doing anything like this or be a danger to society? I most definitely think not. If I were to ever be released, I know I would go straight to a ministry and start going to jails, prisons and help inmates. If God led me to be ordained, I would go that route as well. I possibly even be a chaplain. Maybe the laws will change one day. My attorney team could see I was different and knew that this was a one-time occurrence for me. They even told me that in Europe, the law is I would serve 20 years or so for homicide, and in California, after 25 years of imprisonment, on a life sentence you can be released if you've had good behavior. So, there's hope for everyone to live outside prison walls. I know physically I'm behind these walls, but my spirit is free with Christ. If God keeps putting it on your heart that there is more to the story than what the FBI has, you're correct. I don't like saying stuff like that over the phone because I'm never certain when they screen my calls. I know I already told you the vision I had before August 13th, when I was lying in bed and all the lights were on in the loft and downstairs and I felt so alone. That's exactly what happened April 14th when I was lying in bed. I'm not sure if I want this in the book or if God does, but here are the things I left out. 1. August 12th, when I finished putting the girls to bed. I walked away and said, that's the last time I'm going to be tucking my babies in. I knew what was going to happen the day before and I did nothing to stop it. I was numb to the entire world. I had literally taken my kids to a birthday party, played with water balloons, had an amazing time, sang songs all the way home, gave them bath, a shower, ate dinner, read bedtime stories and sang bedtime songs, and still nothing registered. When Shanann had to be somewhere, I always enjoyed taking the girls places or playing outside because it was our opportunity to bond, and still, even the night before, I wouldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning. 2. August 13th, morning of, I went to the girls' room first, before Shanann and I had our argument. I went to Bella's room, then Cece's room and used a pillow from their bed. That's why the cause of death was smothering. After I left Cece's room, then I climbed back in bed with Shanann and our argument ensued. After Shanann had passed, Bella and Cece woke back up. I'm not sure how they woke back up, but they did. It makes the act that much worse knowing I went to their rooms first and knowing I still took their lives at the location. 3. The reason the medical examiner found OxyContin in Shanann's system is because I gave it to her. I thought it would be easier to be with Nicole if Shanann wasn't pregnant. If the world knew all of that, I'm pretty sure a new petition would be started to have me put to death or I would be killed in prison if I ever get transferred from this institution. I'm not sure if this was a spiritual visit, but I had a dream Cece was dancing next to the chair in my cell. When she was dancing, one of my folders on the chair started moving and I thought she was in trouble, so I said, "Watch out, get away, watch out." Then I woke up. I'm hoping she comes back. I hope everyone comes to visit me. I'm trying to see if I can clear my head better before I go to sleep to help. I like that John 10 verses 1 to 10 passage you sent. I wish I could have had an open ear to hear the Lord calling me back in June, July, August. If we run after sin, we won't hear our shepherd calling us. I couldn't discern between the good spirits and the evil spirits, and that eventually lodged me into a deep pit I couldn't climb back out of. I pray that you and your family are doing good, and I pray the Lord will keep directing us on his path. Take care and God bless. Chris. The night is for spirit, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. Romans 13 verse 12. Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you're doing well. I think Wisconsin weather compares to Colorado weather in that it can vary so much from one day to another. I think spring lasted for a week, then summer hit for a day, and now it's been a mixture of fall, winter the last few days. I will say I'd rather be cold than hot, especially in this little shoebox I'm in. Okay, let me go into the Weld County Jail experience. I arrive at the Weld County Jail the night of August 15th. I get booked, fingerprinted, and my picture taken, and then escorted by a deputy and 2 tactical officers to the unit I'm staying in. When the door to my cell shuts behind me, I'm standing there alone in the darkness wondering if this was it. Is this my normal for the rest of my life? I lay down in the bunk in my suicide turtle suit, as I'm in their suicide watch pod, and just stare off into the darkness. Nothing is adding up and it feels like none of this can be real. To my astonishment, I look in the front corner of my cell and see two dark figures standing there. I thought, okay, this is my eyes playing tricks on me, so I closed them and opened my eyes again, and yet, they are still there. As I focus more intently, I can see one is male and one is female. The male is in a black suit, and the female in a black dress with a Victorian-style hat. Both their wardrobes looked vintage. Their faces were ash-colored and almost familiar, until the familiar feeling turned into a sure thing. This was my grandfather and grandmother on my mom's side, their faces being unmistakable now. I almost wanted to move closer to them when their eyes opened in unison. Their eyes were as red as blood, like crimson. This eerie feeling came over me as I had four eyes staring back at me as if piercing my soul. In a bad way. The only problem was that it felt like I was in a trance and had to keep eye contact. I felt like I needed to go over to the both of them, but all of a sudden something broke the trance. I stopped looking at the eyes, looked back again, and the corner of my cell was empty once again. I obviously couldn't sleep much after this event, thinking this type of visit would only get worse if I let my guard down. I stayed on this unit for a week until I was moved to restrictive housing unit or the hole. The suicide watch pod was quiet, but I soon learned the hole was not the same. As soon as I entered the unit, the screams and shouts pierced my soul. Out of the 20 cells, I'm sure 90% of them were screaming at me, and the barraging remarks raged from "I'm going to rip your face off," to "kill yourself," to "I'm going to fuck your wife in the afterlife." All of these comments felt like daggers hitting my heart. This went on for weeks, and I finally drew the conclusion that this must be what hell feels like. The shouting, the pounding on the walls had to stop at some point, right? It eventually did, either by the others losing interest or the fact I wasn't responding to anything they said. During this time is when I started to read the Bible. I didn't know if I should even pick the Bible up, because I thought I was far gone. I was lost, broken, and I even listened to the other inmates informing me the different ways I could kill myself while in my cell. Their words were, "If you don't do it yourself, they will do it for you in prison." With these thoughts flowing through my head, I didn't think God could forgive me for what I'd done. But I picked up the Bible and began reading, because there had to be a message in this book that will help me persevere. I finished the Bible in about 2 weeks. Some days were harder to concentrate than others due to the noise in the pod and the horrible letters I would get from time to time. Not all the letters were horrible. There were a few that had encouraging messages and even pointed out scriptures in the Bible for me to commit to memory. The first that was brought to my attention was 1 John 1 verse 9, "If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins, and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness." The other was from the Gospel of Luke, in chapter 23, when he describes the account of Jesus speaking with the other man on the cross beside him, and Jesus said, "Assuredly, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." Luke 23 verse 43. Both of these verses show the mercy and loving kindness of Christ. The man beside Jesus was a criminal, condemned to suffer crucifixion, but he still forgave him because he saw the faith in his heart. These verses sparked a zealous hope inside me that carried me through the rest of my time there at the jail. After about 5 weeks in the hole, I was moved into the RS pod to give me a little extra movement. Enter the Salvation Story night here. My attorney team would come to visit me 3 to 4 times a week, and I can't thank them enough. They were my only human contact. They treated me not like a client but as a friend. They didn't treat me with hostility, but with compassion, and would be there in a moment's notice if I was struggling with something. On November 5, my attorney team flew my mom, dad and sister out to talk to me via video monitor because the next day I was going to plead guilty to all charges against me. I got to spend 30 minutes individually with each member of my family. Those were some hard, heartfelt moments, and I cherished the time I was able to spend with them at that moment. After the visit was over, I was swiftly moved to another pod. I'm guessing the visit was being watched by other officials in the jail, and they felt it was prudent to move me to a more secure location if I was taking a plea deal the next day. This next pod was called Close Watch, and it was just me and a deputy, hence the name Close Watch. This was a dry cell and padded and kind of felt like a shoebox as it was only 5.5 feet wide. I stayed in this cell from November 6 to November 26, and the fact that it was just me and another deputy gave me more opportunity to talk to them. Some could care less about having a conversation with me, but others did. When I was reading my Bible, the deputies would ask what part one was reading, and that would spark up a whole conversation about the Word. I was amazed at how much I had retained from reading the Bible, and it felt good to talk with someone who is a believer just like me. One deputy went on to tell me about some miracles that had happened in his life, in particular when his son's late grandfather was leaving a single rose in sporadic places just to let his son know he was there with him. I'm not doing the story justice, but wow! It was spectacular. When I returned from my sentencing hearing on November 19th, I was very emotional, as you can imagine. The deputy that was working saw I was having a hard time holding it together, asked if he could pray with me. I was shocked by this, but completely honored at the same time. Picture it, a deputy in his uniform and an inmate in his oranges. Two entities that are usually at enmity with one another, praying through a cell door. Remarkable. After he was done praying, I took over and read Psalm 33 verses 13 to 22, what I wanted to read at my sentencing hearing, but I thought it better I didn't, and said a little prayer for my wife and kids and everyone affected by this tragedy. I was in tears, he was in tears. It was a very moving moment. In the end, I can look back at each pod I was housed in and relate it to a stage in my faith. 1. Realization, realizing who I am and that I am nothing without God in my life. 2. Sanctification, God was filling my soul with His word to make me ready to spread His grace and mercy. 3. Salvation, I gave myself, my life and my soul completely to the Lord. 4. Consummation, God has taken absolute control and He is keeping me on the straight path that leads to life everlasting. The Weld County Jail experience was a roller coaster, full of ups and downs and twists and turns, but it is also the spot of my salvation. When Jesus said, "I have come to preach deliverance to the captives," Luke 4 verse 18, that rings true if you're physically captive, and or spiritually captive. I went through a lot of dark times in that jail, but Jesus showed me the light at the end of the tunnel. And that is the true light, which lights every man that comes into the world. John 1 verse 9. My mom asked me if you could use the letters that I wrote to Bella, CC, Nico, and Shanann back in December, and I think that will be a good idea. The HLN reporter wanted to use them as part of the documentary to show my character, but I believe God didn't want them used there. He wants the book to be the platform they are used on, so I will give you the green light to go ahead and use them. You wanted me to give you some detail into the life of me, Shanann and the girls, so here we go. It seemed like the perfect life. I had a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful daughters, a good job, a home. Everything felt like it fit. My life and Shanann's life revolved around Bella and CC, and we would do anything to make sure they were healthy and happy. We worked as a team the best we could. Even when it was evident the girls only wanted me or only wanted her. I loved picking them up from school. When I walked into CC's classroom, our eyes would meet, a huge smile would shine from her face and she would sprint over to me, almost tackling me in the process. Bella would usually be on the playground, so I would usually have to go into the playset to collect her. Once in the car, Bella would find their car ride snacks and disperse one to CC, and then I would buckle them up. The short ride home consisted of a lot of singing to Moana, Frozen or Trolls soundtracks. I loved hearing them sing. And they loved telling me to stop singing. I guess my voice wasn't that good. Once home they would run to Shanann and eat their dinner. Now, shower time. They usually got me so wet from the bathtub that the shower was a welcome change. They loved washing their hair like big girls. Afterward, Shanann would come up and help me lotion the girls up and get their pajamas on. Then it was off for a snack, a cartoon, brush their teeth, inhalers, meds and time for bed. Usually Bella wanted Shanann and CC wanted me. CC picked almost every book in her room some nights and asked so many questions. I loved it. She was such the little character. Sometimes Bella would be waiting for me to sing her a little song, "You Are My Sunshine," and get one extra kiss from me. Once in bed, Shanann worked on her phone the rest of the night while we watched our shows on TV. There wasn't a whole lot of conversation going on, and that's my fault too, for not speaking up. The weekends usually consisted of getting the girls outside as much as we could, as they were very active. I would take them in the backyard to play on their playset, play some t-ball, or pull them around the neighborhood in their wagon. At night on the weekend, we would usually take them to the splash pad because they absolutely loved water. When we would go to the pool, it would be a chore to get them to go home. The smiles on their faces were totally worth every second though. As I write this, I can see I didn't put much effort into my marriage other than being the best dad I could be, and performing my husbandly duties, cleaning, etc. I did as much as I could to keep the kids from distracting Shanann from her work that I forgot to focus on her. We did everything as a family, pumpkin patches at Halloween, plus all of us wearing costumes. I even wore the costume to the girls' Halloween party at school. Christmas was always fun because I would dress up as Santa and the girls would absolutely love it. Their birthday parties would usually be a little over the top, but we would do anything for Bella and Cece. Shanann and I did go out from time to time, usually for birthdays and anniversaries. My favorite memories of her are the early ones. Like the beach photos we took while on the trip where I proposed to her in 2011. Her smile was captivating and we were having a blast. Another would be obviously the wedding. I'll never forget her walking down the aisle, looking flawless, and seeing her look into my eyes when she got up to me and saying, "Breathe." She literally took my breath away. That love never died, rather the focus of that love went toward the kids. I can say with a certainty that I always loved Shanann and always will, but there was always that lingering fear that I would do something wrong. The verse 1 John 4 verse 18 comes to mind, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear." Because how can you fear what you love? Or how can you love what you fear? The two feelings are at enmity with one another, polar opposites if you will. I seemed to always walk on eggshells around Shanann. There was uneasiness and careful, fearful planning with every step I took. That's not what love should feel like, but I never communicated that to her. When I was with Bella and Cece, being a dad, there was no fear, just overwhelming love. It would have been just as my personality is structured to be nervous, submissive around Shanann, but that's still not how love should be. Finishing off the rest of the verse, because fear has torment. He that fears is not made perfect in love. Resonates with me because fear is nothing but torment for the soul. That's what the fear eventually did to me. It broke me down spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Was I aware of it? I don't think so. It's like the frog that was put in a pot full of water, and slowly, the water turned to a boil and the frog boiled to death. I didn't see what was happening until it was too late, and that mistake cost me the chance to grow old with my family for the rest of my physical life. Love is a resounding warmth that envelops your entire being. We should all strive for that because fear should never conquer love. Love is from God. When we were made in His image, it was in the image of love, and that quality is what will overcome the world. I think I will end this letter here. I hope you are doing well and your entire family too. Take care and God bless. Chris. I has not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for them that love Him. 1 Corinthians 2 verse 9. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14. Father, I will that they also, whom you have given me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which you have given me. For you loved me before the foundation of the world. John 17 verse 24. May 15, 2019, Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope this letter finds you doing well. Thank you for the 2 songs you sent, Who You Say I Am and Be Still. I'm sure the song will take on a new meaning once I can hear them with music, although the lyrics are good all by itself. You ask if there's anything I haven't talked about in regards to Nicki. Honestly, I'm not sure what I've said and what I haven't, but this is what I know. She had a small group of friends that she didn't tell me a lot about until near the end. She was involved in an abusive relationship a few years before and, after that, she removed most of her social media. Not sure if it was the result of that relationship. Most, if not all of her mail was delivered to her dad's house. Not sure if she was hiding from someone. She took medication, never told me what for though. She came over to my house twice, July 4th and July 14th. I didn't have to work July 4th, so I stayed at Nicki's house that morning and missed tons of phone calls from Shanann. When I called Shanann back, she was obviously furious. I went home and decided to stay home the rest of the day, which made Nicki upset. I think this was the first time she realized in her head that she wasn't number one in my life. Nicki came over and we went over a protein eating plan for me. She didn't look around the house much on this visit. On July 14th, we were heading back from the Shelby Museum and stopped by my house before we went to get something to eat. While in the house, she was playing with Dieter and he led her upstairs and she saw a lot of pictures of Bella, Celeste and Shanann. I was downstairs at the time. She came back downstairs with this frozen, dazed and confused look on her face. Probably now realizing for the first time in her head the family life I lived and the family that would be broken to pieces. We laid on the couch and she said, "You have all this, more than most people, and we are doing this. Why are we doing this? Are you willing to give all of this up? Is your relationship that bad?" I said Shanann and I were drifting apart and that we didn't talk. I'm not sure if I believed that fully, but I can see the deficiencies in our relationship today. I also said Shanann and I were actively trying to have a baby before we met. Nicki and I. Nicki instantly freaked out about this because she didn't think the relationship could have been that bad if Shanann and I were trying to conceive. Nicki went out to her truck. She sat out there for about 30 minutes texting me while I was inside my house. I somehow calmed her down. Nicki repeatedly reminded me I was the only guy she had ever met that tried to fix problems, smooth out issues and talk about things. Ironically, I never did that with Shanann. Maybe I thought she wouldn't listen. After this, Nicki still invited me over to her house like nothing had happened and said I got mad because I thought I could give you a son, and when you told me you and your wife were trying, that made me upset. After all of this, we went to the drag races in Bandimere on July 21st, and camping July 28th and 29th. When I left to go to North Carolina, she sent me a text saying, "Use this time to fix the issues with your wife and enjoy time with your family." The first night I was there, the night I gave Shanann the OxyContin. I texted Nicki saying I wouldn't be able to call, just text. Nicki responded, "Why not? Are you with her?" I thought she wanted me to spend time with my family, but obviously she wanted me to make time for her no matter what. The next 8 days ignored Shanann every night so I could disappear and talk to Nicki for hours. When I returned to Colorado, I saw Nicki after work. I went to her place in my work truck, and she gave me a key to her place. I saw this as a pretty big step because, what woman gives another man a key to her place without wanting to take a big step in their relationship? I had told her that Shanann and I was going to get a separation, and that the relationship was going to end. Shanann had mentioned the word separation. But she was still actively trying to fix our marriage. I don't know if this day, when I received the key to Nicki's place, was the day I realized I couldn't have my family and her at the same time. When I left Nicki's house, I had to hurry home, because Shanann and I had an ultrasound appointment. This should have been a joyful time, but, instead, I was so overcome with evil and lust, I didn't even let the event register. There was my son, didn't know the gender, on the screen and my beautiful wife in the chair and I could barely hold her hand. Shanann needed a supportive husband and my kids needed a loving father, and I was neither at this time. Shanann made it a point to bring up the cold hand-holding. And I just told her, my head wasn't in the right place and that I was going to sleep on the couch. Shanann responded, "Whatever is going on or whoever she is, you'll never see those kids again," and slammed the door. Once I knew she was asleep, I proceeded to call Nikki while laying on the couch. The next night I would sleep in the basement, on that bed, and call Nikki as well. I had made up in my mind that my marriage was over, without even trying to talk to my wife first. Shanann knew the altercation with my parents had affected me. So she began sending pictures of the ultrasound to my mom and dad. Nikki began telling her friends about me, and I deleted my Facebook because of that. I didn't want her friends looking me up. Deleting my Facebook was another sign to Shanann that something was up, but she was still wanting to find a way to fix things. She then booked a couple's weekend in the mountains. The last time I saw Nikki was August 11th when we went out to eat. I had gotten a babysitter for the night. Nikki talked about different apartments she had found for me that would be big enough for me and the kids. She then talked about how after I found my own place we could move at a slower pace and treat our relationship as a normal relationship. She said this because we saw each other every night possible in June-July. I didn't talk to her again until August 12th, after the birthday party I took my kids to. The rest I think is all in discovery from then on. I hope this sheds some light on that relationship. I'm not sure if that is all common knowledge or not, but that's it regarding Nikki from me. I pray that she has peace now and can find peace in the Lord. Everyone involved in this tragedy has had their life turned upside down, and I pray they will seek the Lord with all their heart to get back on the right path. Okay, enough of the Nikki relationship. Let's get to Salvation Night, October 2018. I've been trying to narrow down the day for you. And I have an idea. If you can find out when the Kansas City Chiefs played Sunday Night Football in early October 2018, it was that night. I remember watching that game that night. It's weird sometimes what our mind can remember about certain nights, and give us some clues. The pod I'm in is called RS, and attached to the cell there's a room with a table, TV, and phone. I've only been in this cell for 2 days, so all this is very new to me. I'm sitting at the table reading a book when the news comes on around 9:30 p.m, then I hear my name. I look up and see myself sitting in a courtroom in an orange jumpsuit, never thinking in my entire life I would ever see that image. Then I see a picture of my family on the screen. That is the first time I've seen a picture of my family since August 15th. All the newspaper articles were cut out of the newspapers so I wouldn't see them. Lockdown was at 10 p.m. and I went in my cell and laid on my bunk in the dark with the picture of my family frozen in my head. I see Bella, I see Celeste, I see Shanann. I see their bright shining faces, their radiant cheeks, their beautiful smiles. Now more memories flood my brain, memories of the pool when both girls would jump into my arms and I would fly them around. Memories of snowstorms when I would pull the girls around in a sled. Memories of the wedding when I see Shanann walking down the aisle and seeing her stand right in front of me looking absolutely stunning. Memories of Cece tackling me every time I picked her up from school, the smile she gave me when she saw me was priceless. Memories of Bella's first time seeing fireworks, memories of being a family. These images came at me like tidal waves, flooding my mind with the love that I once had and piercing my soul knowing that they were gone. I longed to hold my family in my arms again, to read one more bedtime story, to give another goodnight kiss, to hold my son for the first time, to sing one more song in the car, to be a dad, to be a husband. One more time. I rolled over in my bunk onto my knees and cried out to the Lord, please take this pain away, take this guilt. How did I let this happen? How did I let it get this far? This pain is too great for me to handle. To bear alone. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused, please take this guilt, this shame that I feel and help me follow you. Heal my heart, cleanse my soul, and help me follow you. Please forgive me. You're my Lord and Savior, and I want to do your will. At that moment I felt a hand touch the top of my head. It didn't startle me, it didn't scare me. What it did was overwhelm me with so much emotion I couldn't stop crying. That hand that touched me was the Lord's hand, and He healed me that night with His divine Spirit. That night changed my life and set me a course that I will never forget. These verses from Lamentations best describes that night. I called upon your name, O Lord, out of the low dungeon. You have heard my voice, hide not your ear at my breathing, at my cry. You drew near in the day that I called upon you, you said, "Fear not." O Lord, you have pleaded the causes of my soul, you have redeemed my life. Lamentations 3 verses 55 to 58. That was salvation night. I pray that everyone can have some type of experience. My salvation night was only possible because I humbled myself before the Lord and answered his call. The Lord calls us constantly, but we don't open ourselves up to let him in. Behold, I stand at the door, and knock. If anyone hears my voice, and opens the door, I will come into him, and will dine with him, and he with me. Revelation 3 verse 20. Our heart is the door and he is always ready to come in. Hearing the Lord's call is in direct relation to John 1 verses 38 to 44, when Lazarus is brought back to life. Our souls are ravaged in sin because of the fallen world we live in. None of us do good. Not one. When Jesus cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come forth," he basically is calling all of us to do his will. Will you keep your ears sharp, so your soul can also be redeemed by answering the Lord's call? Also, in John 20 verses 11 to 16, when Mary Magdalene was at the sepulchre and she had mistaken our Savior as the gardener, Jesus said to her, "Mary," and then she said, "Master." Jesus opened the eyes of her spirit. Her physical eyes could not see, but she answered the call of the Lord and her spirit eyes were opened, she would perceive. Will you open your eyes to the Lord so that you can see the glorious light of salvation? My hand is starting to get tired, ha ha. Those last two questions I asked in the last two paragraphs were not for you, but for others who haven't accepted the Lord. Feel free to use any of this for the book. I pray that the Lord will use us both as divine vessels to reach countless people all over the world with the words that we shall write. Something that's been on my mind lately, the Lord has been putting this in my heart, about the title, "What do you think about hope, wait, trust, Christopher Watts's Amazing Grace?" I just wanted to share that with you and see what you thought. I know I shared a lot of information in this letter, and I believe you can use some for my testimony as well. The more questions you ask, the more my gears in my brain start turning. I hope this letter finds you in good spirits and doing well. Take care and God bless. Chris. Meditate upon these things, give yourself wholly to them, that your profiting may appear to all. 1 Timothy 4 verse 15, Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. 1 Peter 5 verses 6 to 7. June 17, 2019, Dear Sherilyn, hey. I hope this letter finds you in great spirits and growing in God's grace every day. I'm sorry your mountain trip was so soggy, but I know it had to be good to be out in God's creation experiencing his energy, power, and blessings. That's where Jesus did most, if not all, of his sermons to the multitude. He could draw from the Father when he was teaching the gospel. Thank you for sharing John 15. I think we all have a calling on our lives, some are different than others. But all work for the glory of God. And we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Romans 8 verse 28, God doesn't need to use us but he wants to use us for the growing of the kingdom and disciples here on earth. The calling he has on my life is not fully known yet, but slowly it is coming into the light. In regards to the fruit that we bear, that deals directly to whether we are listening to the mind of the Spirit or the carnal mind. The carnal mind is enmity against God, but the Spirit mind is one with God. Going against God separates us from him and gets us cut off the branch. Being without the vine we go out and venture on our own. That leads to self-sufficiency and pride, which leads to vanity and self-exaltation, all things or traits the carnal mind loves. We go down this road too much and this will eventually lead to a life consumed in depression and hopelessness. However, living in the mind of the Spirit helps us yield so much fruit that his reservoir of joy inside of us spills out to everyone around us. The more good fruit we bear, the more we manifest a life of Christ in our everyday actions. We can leave the darkness that consumed us and reach further to the light that calls us. That's my hope for everyone that is stuck in the carnal mindset. As far as Nicola Atkinson goes, I have nothing against her. She spent a lot of time with Shanann in Arizona and knew that Shanann was upset at me and probably told her about the marital problems. When she didn't hear from Shanann the next day, she knew something was up, as she knew Shanann always had her phone. Her actions at my house were that of a concerned friend who believed I had done something, or caused my wife's depression over the weekend. She caused the police to come back a few minutes after they left to search the house, and she set up the news crews to come the day after. She was always nice to me when she came over, so, like I said, she was just a concerned friend. The YouTube presence I know nothing about. Nicola was a reserved person that Shanann encouraged to put herself out there more, selling Thrive. Nicola wasn't as shy as me, but she wasn't as outgoing as Shanann when it came to direct sales. Shanann was her leader, and she looked up to Shanann. I never knew anything about the Child Protective Services claims. This report about Shanann only being allowed around the kids 90 minutes a day is something that never was made aware to me. If it was true, I would think I would have been notified. I will admit I was in the dark on a lot of issues, but I just can't see that being veiled from my vision. I guess there is a CPS claim out there, from what my parents tell me, and a court date, but I was not in the loop on this if there is any validity. When I worked on the weekends, Shanann was with the kids by herself. She took the kids to school early during the week because she liked to keep a schedule and get the day going early. She used the time alone to work the Thrive business, and I would go pick up the girls when I got home from work. There are so many things that don't make sense that people are grasping at that have no precedence in my eyes, but I have been very shielded from much of the information about my case and from the logistics of my marriage. I just can't see this being true. I do like the head title, Letters from Christopher, with the subtitle being, Hope, Wait, Trust. I think that will catch the mainstream's attention, so they will pick it up. Do you think most of society likes to physically have a book in their hands or download one on their tablet? I never really read books, unless it was to Bella and Cece. I don't know if I want anything in the book about my dad's struggles. I know he had a hard time with all that coming out in the media, and I don't think he would want all of it rehashed in the book. That was a tough time in his life, and I don't want him to relive it. My daily schedule here, 6:15 a.m. standing count, basically to make sure everyone is still alive and counted for. We eat breakfast at, or around 6:45 to 7 a.m. Depending on the day we either have showers next or cell cleanup. Most of my time between 8 to 11 a.m. is spent reading and praying. My prayers in the morning usually takes well over an hour because I feel led to pray for everyone I have met in here. I know their struggles and I feel they might not have anyone praying for them on the outside. I also pray for all my friends, family, Shanann's family, people who have touched my life, people who write me, the bad letters as well, and my wife and kids. I also thank the Lord for all his blessings and for moving me to a safe place and for everything he is doing in my life. The relationship I have with the Lord is exponential to what it was before. Lunch is at 11:15 a.m. and then 12:30 p.m. standing count. The time between 12:30 and 4 p.m. I spend reading, praying or writing letters. Dinner is at 4 p.m. and then recreation is at 4:30 p.m. 5 days a week. Another standing count is at 5:30 p.m. with dayroom time from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Dayroom time is when we can all use the phone, watch TV, play cards, other games and talk to each other. The rest of the night I spend reading or writing letters until I fall asleep, sometimes around 11 p.m. As you can see, I pray, read and write a lot. My faith in the Lord and the ability he gives me to spread his word consumes most of my day, and I love it. The Lord's presence lets me rest in peace, knowing that his grace and love sustains me. You say the K9 dogs went crazy in one spot in the basement and I can't think of a physical reason why. I went downstairs that morning, to the basement, to get some trash bags, but that's it. I know dogs can see, feel things humans can't, so maybe they felt the evil spirits that were in the house. That's the only reason I can come up with why the dogs picked up anything in the basement. I don't think Shanann took oxycodone or was getting it from Nicola. I know Nicola was doing something in the medical field, but I surely doubt Shanann was taking anything. Yes, I only gave Shanann the oxycodone the first night I was at my in-laws. I was obviously not in the right state of mind, but the idea was for her to lose our baby so it would be easier for me to be with Nikki. It's hard even writing that and I feel like such a monster, but I know those 2.5 months were not the person I am today or was before. I'm so thankful the Lord has delivered me from whatever evil was tormenting me and my family. I just wish they were still here. I never saw my marriage as a struggle until I met Nikki. That temptation brought out any negative perceptions I had concerning my marriage and shut away all the good as well. I have found who my soul loves, Song of Solomon 3 verse 4. Does this mean we have a special person out there made precisely for our soul? Romantically? Only friendship? I can't say Shanann was my soulmate because we were so different, but we fit and I love her. There was fearfulness, there was nervousness, on my part that led to shutting down. I never thought it was healthy to argue and I just wanted peace in every aspect. I was never an argumentative person, and that kind of peacekeeping made me walk on eggshells to make me sure I didn't screw up or do something wrong. She was always so stressed about money that I felt the slightest thing would set her off. That's why I tried to do everything I could around the house, outside the house, and with the girls I could. That just created more of a communication barrier that was almost insurmountable. We hardly spoke about anything with substance, and I guess you could say we had fallen into a rut, but didn't acknowledge it. The fact that I would shut down during an argument was a product of my personality. I knew anything I would say would be of no importance, wouldn't contribute constructively, and would only make her angry even more so than she already was. Even if I did come back with something in the argument, then I knew it would get cut down by whatever she would say next, so I didn't bother. I just stood there, avoiding eye contact and nodding like I always would. We didn't argue a lot, but this is how it transpired each time. I guess you could say near the end we were more involved, in a successful routine than a relationship because our days were so choreographed. Sure, every relationship needs a plan, but ours were to a T. We just needed to sit down and express ourselves in a non-judgmental environment to convey our feelings. We, unfortunately, never got to do that. She may have not been my soulmate, but she's my baby girl. My boo, my wife, and my friend. I love her with all my heart. Going back to the Song of Solomon 3 verse 4, and the question of, if we have soulmates. I love Shanann, my girls, my son, my family, and my friends. They will always be a part of my soul. Nevertheless, I have somewhat against you, because you have left your first love, Revelation 2 verse 4. The one who our soul loves is the Lord, our eternal soulmate, and that will never change. To Frank, Sandy, and Frankie. I'm sorry for the pain and utter anguish that I've caused your family. This is a tragedy that I never thought could or would occur. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico are 4 beautiful souls that will live on forever in heaven and in our hearts. I know you must hate me for what I've done, and honestly, I would be surprised if you didn't. This is a moment in my life that I will never be able to undo, and it rips me apart every single day. I see their beautiful faces, their beautiful smiles everywhere I look. When I read to them at night, I can feel them snuggled up next to me like we were at home. I want you to know that I still consider you my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law, and that I love you all the same, yesterday, today, and forever. I pray that one day you can have forgiveness for me, but most of all I pray you can have compassion on my family. They're hurting so bad from this, and I know they would love to reconcile if that is something you would allow to happen. I pray every day that both families can meet, at the gravesite, hold hands, pray, and talk about past times. Share about birthdays, and visits, and funny FaceTime conversations. I know this prayer hasn't been answered yet, but I know God is working this request of mine in your hearts. Forgiveness is the start of healing, and I pray you can start that process with my family. You wanted me to write an excerpt into the letters you received that I wrote Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I'm not sure what I had written down in those letters, so hope this fits in okay. To Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, I love all of you to the moon and back, as Bella would say, I love you all day. You guys will always be my shining stars, my light in the darkness and my guardian angels. I'm so sorry for the pain and fear I caused all of you. It rips my heart to pieces knowing what happened. Being a husband and a father are true blessings from God. I was blinded from seeing those gifts He bestowed upon me. I hope, when you look down upon me, you don't see the person that hurt you, but the person that loves you. I pray that you say, "That's my husband, and that's my daddy. I love you all so much, and remember, you will always be my sunshines." Okay, into Revelation we go. You are correct, we are not mentioned by name in the 7 churches. The churches that are named are all in Asia and part of Paul's missionary journeys. I believe either Paul went there or some of his partners. I think the 7 churches reflect the 7 continents. The message to each church consists of a positive commendation and what the church needs to fix. Although the message to Philadelphia portrays they need to fix nothing. Behold, I came quickly, hold fast what you have, that no man takes your crown. Revelations 3:11. The message to Laodicea gives no commendation, but all repairs that are needed. The Lord says, "Because you are lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth, because you say, I am rich, and increased with goods, and have need of nothing." Revelations 3:16-17. The Lord asks the church of Laodicea to come to Him for salvation, so they could be clothed, because their pride has made them naked, and to see, because they have been blinded by the world and its lusts. I truly believe the United States is the church of Laodicea. We live by our own excesses and are proud of it. This is what I pick up when I read about the 7 churches. I never had that revelation before you asking me about it. That's what God put in my heart when I asked Him to reveal more of the book of Revelation to me. I will continue to pray on this to see if this knowing came from Him. 30,000 guillotines? My goodness! That is absolutely scary. That is such a cruel form of punishment, and it would have to be used for people who don't sake the mark of the beast. The days are growing shorter, and I don't know how much lower the world can fall before the appointed time is come. All we can do is keep spreading the word and lead people to Christ. The more people that are led to Christ, the more people will answer the call and or knock on the door of their hearts. The last 10 months have definitely been an up and down roller coaster of emotions, a crushing experience if you will. But these are the types of experiences God has put in our path to overcome. Not of ourselves to overcome them, but of our faith in the Lord to overcome them. When we encounter tribulations, we often ask, why? Then, we start to worry how to remedy the issue without looking to God. Worrying is counterproductive and keeps you from expressing the Lord's blessings. Worrying is a byproduct of fear. Fear is worse, but love is everlasting. That love is from God, and God is our strength. That strength is what carries us through by faith. For by grace you are saved, through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, Ephesians 2:8. That faith is the calling inside all of us by God through Jesus Christ. That faith is a fighting faith that pushes us past the thought of trying to be someone in this world, because through the grace of God, we are someone in Jesus Christ. When we realize who we are in Christ, we can truly say, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. Song of Solomon 2:11. I will continue to reach for the hem of his garment, and I will keep praying that all obstacles for this book will fall before the feet of the Lord. Surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed so shall it stand. Isaiah 14:24. With God pushing us we cannot fail. Prayers to you and your family, take care and God bless. In Christ, Chris. So shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth, it shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish that what I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Isaiah 55:11. For you are my lamp, O Lord, and the Lord will lighten my darkness. For by you I have run through a troop, by my God have I leaped over a well. 2 Samuel 22:29-30. July 5, 2019, Dear Sherilyn, hello again. I hope you're doing well and in great spirits. I didn't see any fireworks last night, but I could hear a number of them being set off around the neighborhood that surrounds the prison. It brought back some good memories of my family from past July 4th celebrations. Twice we were at a cookout and sitting in the front yard of our friend's house when his sprinklers went off during the fireworks. Priceless. I remember in 2015 recording Bella's astonished look watching the fireworks in Denver. Shanann was 9 months pregnant at the time and absolutely glowing. I remember in 2017 the girls were playing with sparklers for the first time. That was a little nerve-wracking, but they had a blast. Good memories. I will always hang on to during this time of year. When we spoke on the phone last night you said, I need the prologue ASAP, so I figured I better get on that. I've been in prayer most of the morning lying on my bunk and the Lord has granted me some wisdom in what to say. Here it goes, forward. Hope. Wait. Trust. 3 little words with some mighty heavy significance. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11 verse 1, do you have hope in things you've seen or things you want that you've seen? Why? Everything that you see is temporary, so why hope in it? If you have hope in this world or in yourself, you've given yourself over to pride. Hope in the world traps your feet in a net. As those who have their hope in Christ safely walk on by, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings as eagles, they shall run, and not be weary, and they shall walk, and not faint. Isaiah 40 verse 31, it's hard to wait for anything, especially since we're all impatient creatures in an on-demand world. We let waiting bring on stress and anxiety because everything we wanted yesterday. That should be an indication to us all that we are waiting on the wrong objective. Worldly riches. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Trust brings a whole new avenue to your heart. If you don't have trust in someone or something, you totally disregard it. But, if you do, it can bring a calmness to your life that is almost heavenly. So, what do I hope for? What do I wait on? What do I trust in? Christ. I had a beautiful life, I experienced beautiful love, but I let temptation steal it away. Darkness can restrain you from making the decisions you should. Darkness can rob you of everything you love. Darkness can blind you from everything you hold dear. Darkness can destroy your soul, but the light can restore it. That light is peace in your heart. That light is the smile and laughs you go home to every day. That light is the love of God in His Son, a love that stretches from the east to the west. God didn't create us to be robots. He gave us free will to see what path we would follow and what decisions we would make. Those of you who knew me before this tragedy would say, nope. No way. Not in a million years would he go down that path. Those of you who know of me because of this tragedy have formed your opinions, mostly negative, and I don't blame you. I just want you to realize darkness can enter into our lives in any form, another person, or activity, a feeling, a thought, and jettison us down a path we think is right. Being blinded by evil, but only leading to turmoil. The world tries to negotiate for peace, but the peace you're looking for only comes from the Prince of Peace. Striving for a safe, predictable life won't bring you the peace in your heart until you receive Christ there. Life is a tempestuous wind that never seems to back down, but, when you have the peace of God, you can be at peace during the storm. 4. Lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. Song of Solomon 2 verse 11. Acknowledgements. Thank you to my mom, dad and sister. No matter what, you've all been by my side and your love for me never stopped. Through the good days and the bad, you're all right there to support me in every way. Love you all so much. Thank you, Anna, for all your support. You reached out to me and my family from the very beginning. You followed where God was leading you and we have become great friends. Your letters, phone calls, and visits always bring a smile to my face. Your courage and faith have made a huge impact on my life. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Yanel, for all your support. You took the chance reaching out to a stranger in another country in December, and our friendship has grown extensively since. You've basically become sort of a human diary for me, and you've helped me become stronger as a person. Follow the Lord's path for you, and I'll be calling you Dr. Yanel in a few years. God bless you and your family. Thank you, Sherilyn, for all your support. You were very persistent in contacting me, even though I didn't respond. You didn't give up. You listened to the Lord and kept writing me until I listened to what the Lord was telling me. Write her. She wants to help. A few months later, and we are great friends and helping each other grow in our faith. God bless you, your family, and everyone at League as well. Thank you to everyone who has supported me and written to me. You've all made a mark on my life that will last a lifetime. I am indebted to you all. God bless. Thank you to my Lord and Savior for saving my life. Without your help, I would either be dead or surrounded by darkness searching for a way out. I waited patiently for the Lord, and He inclined to me, and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. Psalm 40 verses 1-2. You have taken darkness and turned it into your marvelous light, that shines more and more to the perfect day. Proverbs 4 verse 18, I will praise your name forevermore. Okay, I think that's all I got for now. I pray the Lord keeps guiding us, protecting us and correcting us so we stay on His path. I will leave you with a few verses that the Lord brought to my attention. Take care and God bless. In Christ, Chris. You have granted me life and favor, and your visitation has preserved my spirit. Job 10 verse 12. Your sun shall no more go down, neither shall your moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be your everlasting light, and the days of your mourning shall be ended. Isaiah 60 verse 20. And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not, I will lead them in paths that they have not known, I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. Isaiah 42 verse 16. You are wearied in the greatness of your way, yet you said not, there is hope, you have found the life of your hand, therefore you were not grieved. Isaiah 57 verse 10. This last verse is great because the interpretation I perceive out of it is this. The greatness of your way refers to the great obstacles and pain in your life, and yet you said, there is hope. You are not grieved because the life of your hand is with you. That is our rank, our Redeemer, our lifetime, our shield. It's such a beautiful verse.